Hello and welcome into the inception of our very first podcast episode. So new, in fact, that we haven't even figured out a working title yet. So by the time this actually comes out, we will have a title. But one thing we've learned in business is that the more names you think of, they're already been taken. So we're working on it, but not had it yet. But because this is our first episode, it doesn't mean we're starting off slow. We're starting off quick. This is going to be an amazing episode. My name is Lofton. I'm a registered nurse. I am co-founder of Uni Shoes, and I will be your podcast host today. And we've got an amazing episode for you. Today, our conversation is with Chris Hernandez. He's in here in studio in LA. And Chris is a registered nurse, former influencer, who one day decided to turn his account private, step out of the spotlight, and leave influencing behind. It's very rare in an influencer culture that seems so performative that we actually get to see a peek behind the curtain like this. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty with Chris, see how he got into influencing, a little bit behind the scenes of what influencing actually looks like on the daily, and why he ultimately decided to leave that behind. I'm so grateful for Chris's willingness to have a real conversation about something so close and personal to him. So, without further ado, Chris, welcome in.
Hi, Lofton. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course. Welcome to LA. I heard this is your first time here.
First time ever.
First time. How's it been so far?
So far, it's been pretty good.
Nice.
I'm not going to complain. I connected really well with the people here.
Awesome. Did you do any of the touristy stuff like Hollywood Sign or the Walk of Fame?
No. Drive-by. Just drive-by.
Drive-by.
My first night, I just came here. I danced.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was my tour for me.
Awesome.
Connected with the people.
You know what? That honestly, it's funny because it's like everybody who comes to visit, when we first moved out here, everybody came to visit, they'd be like, oh, let's go see, like Hollywood, like see the stars. And you get down there in about 5 minutes, you're like, all right, I'm good. Like,
we can go now.
Yeah, we can go now. I've seen all I need to see.
Yep.
So, but I'm glad you, found a dance community here. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you're very into dance, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
But I want to just start off by just getting familiar with you. How old are you? Where are you from?
I am 29 years old. I am from the Bronx, New York, born and raised. Yeah, Bronx native.
Nice. Bronx native. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then what kind of nursing do you do?
I do ER.
ER nursing.
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
Since 2023.
2023. Okay.
Absolutely.
Nice. So ER. So you like whatever can come through the door, bring it on.
Level 1 trauma center. I like them all. Give me the cardiac arrest. Give me the punctures. Give me the gunshots. I'll take everything.
Yeah.
It's all thrilling for me.
It definitely takes a special kind of person because I've been a nurse for 12 years, but never did ER, never had never had a desire to do ER because I like more, it's never fully predictable. I worked in surgery and it's things go wrong, but generally it's okay, you're going in, this is the procedure, you do the procedure, it's done.
Right.
Whereas ER is just no.
We get the mess, we stabilize them, and we bring them to either in units or ICUs. So
exactly. Yeah. So thank you for that. Cause
of course
that means I don't have to do it. One thing, interesting fact where we first met, you were kind of talking about your sleep schedule because you work night shift. Is that right?
I'm a night shift nurse,
yes. So I think a lot of people don't, if you haven't worked night shift, which luckily I actually never had to. Coming out of school, I applied for a job that was night shift and they were I went in, had the interview, and then I came back and they're like, okay, so would you want the day position or the night position? And I thought I had applied to the night position, but I was like, I'll take the day position. So luckily I never had to do it. But you're a night shift. Was that out of necessity, or did you I want to do night shift?
I mean, that was the only position available for me.
Yeah.
Once I did apply and I got hired, they offered me the day position, but I was I'm already comfortable at night, considering the life that I have with dancing and everything and traveling. I was okay, it's only best to do things at night where I can be more less productive due to the fact that everyone else is awake during the day.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is where my sleep schedule is where does it fall between?
Yeah. So tell us about your sleep schedule.
I have a Oura ring that calls me out every single time for my lack of sleep. And within 2024, I averaged about 4 hours and 55 minutes of sleep a year. A year. And I seem to be doing great with that. You know,
Wow.
I'm just so used to it. Oftentimes when I would go to work, I would start at 7, but typically I'd be at work by 5 just to like, you know, dip my toes in. If they need me to start earlier, I'll start earlier, and I'll get out by 7:30. I'll get breakfast, and I'll be awake till like maybe noon.
Okay.
Sleep till like 4 and start my day again. So.
Oh my goodness. So about 4 hours of sleep a day?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And if I'm off that next day, I would work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then I'll stay awake until my body just shuts down at night so I can like restart my sleep cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. See, that's why I could never do it. I would be a zombie all the time. But for a lot of people, like you're not the only person. Like other people who work night shift, they say they love the schedule.
Oh yeah.
When they jump in between their days off and their, you know, time on, and they're fine with it. So I think must just be a personality thing. Yeah,
it is.
Sure.
And on top of that, like I feel like I'm more energetic at night.
Yeah,
you know, and,
for sure.
And when it comes to like going out traveling, I come back and I don't have to worry about I have to be up at 5 a.m. for work.
Right.
Rather than I can just come at in the daytime and then just settle in to start my shift at night.
Totally.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be I'm waking up super early for this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Quick background. So Chris and I met first at NurseCon. So NurseCon is a cruise. It's a 4-day cruise for about 3,000 nurses. So just 3,000 nurses on a ship for 4 days, no responsibilities, no patients. It was a wild time. We were the footwear sponsor on the cruise. Chris was there. And the first time I noticed Chris was everybody's hanging out by the pool, just music is playing, having drinks, having a good time. And I see a guy over in the corner, just like salsa dancing on the pool deck. And I'm like, who is this guy? He's so good. And so, how was NurseCon for you?
Well, that was my third NurseCon.
Okay, nice.
So at this point, they're all family to me. I know like 90% of the people there.
Yeah.
I'll say that 10% of them are new people, and I connect with them immediately because those are new faces that I never registered in my mind. Yeah. So being there is just a welcoming experience for all nurses to just let go, be free, live your wild life, no judgments. And, it's all about connecting. And
for sure.
That's one thing that I truly am passionate about when it comes to NurseCon at Sea. I truly support it. I will forever be going every single year. And for me, it's just, I'm in a zone where it's like, I'm out of the world. I'm not focusing on like work, but I am talking about work stuff sometimes. And, I'm talking with people who are level-headed with me, like, nurse to nurse conversation, even if it's not anything to do with nursing.
Right.
But they understand, if anything, that when I do say something, is like we're all connecting in that same level.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that is so nice. It's like everybody you meet, they're in your profession. And like you said, even if you're not talking about work, you everybody knows the lifestyle you're living and what you've had to go through, what you do go through. And then the ability to be off like this for like 4 days and just like hang out and chill, and everybody's like, oh yeah, like I need this, so I know you need this as well. It's just like that mutual understanding, I think, is what makes it most powerful.
And especially when we compare cases that we've had to each other. Now, oh my God, I've had something like that before. And it's like we're like trauma bonding now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best part, in my opinion. It's the trauma bonding.
Totally. Yeah. So Chris and I actually only met for probably like 5-10 minutes at breakfast on NurseCon.
Oh my God, at breakfast.
But even in that little conversation, I got to know kind of a little bit about your background. So as soon as I heard that, we got back from the cruise and we were thinking about, starting this podcast, doing something besides just like showing our shoes and talking about our brand. We wanted to talk about stories of people in our audience, in our community, that were interesting and that people could learn from, be inspired by. And so as soon as I heard even just a little bit about your story, I was like, I got to reach out to Chris and see if he'd be willing to talk about it. And one of the biggest reasons why I think your story is so relevant to now is because right now you see a lot of people trying to get into the spotlight. Like everybody wants to be an influencer or, build their platform online. Whereas you are going in the opposite direction to where you had the platform, you had the audience, and then you decided to leave the spotlight and put your accounts on private. And so that's why I was like, oh, this is such a different perspective that not many people get to hear. So I really wanted to talk to you about it and kind of get into some of the details. So first, let's just start off by saying, how would you define influencer or being an influencer?
So, okay, the way I define influencing in general is someone who you can look up to motivate you to do something that you may not be passionate about and find passion within it, right? When I was first influenced into nursing, it wasn't about promoting brands or, selling or using discount codes. It was more about the passion as to why it was that you were doing, why it was what you were doing.
Yeah.
So for me, I was inspired by another nurse who I witnessed hands-on, resuscitating my mother during a cardiac incident. And that was influential to me. Traumatizing, of course.
Right.
But it helped me find my passion into nursing. If it wasn't for that, I would have never been influenced, right?
Yeah.
So me being first gen, born in the Bronx, my parents were immigrants, I had no backbone.
Yeah.
I had no direction as to where to go in life. So when I graduated high school, I'm just like, okay, cool. This is now what,
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it wasn't for that nurse, I wouldn't have never really found a way to like get into nursing.
Yeah.
And when I got into nursing school, the second I got my nursing school scrubs, those big, boxy, oversized scrubs, I would just take pictures of it and write a little motivational quote, and starting from there, I started like that. That to me was influential because I was influencing people outside of the norms of wanting to be nurses to look into what it was to feel like you were in the path of being a nurse.
Yes. And
to me, that was what influencing was at that point.
Got it. Yeah.
And so I've been doing that since I was in nursing school. And that started in 2017.
Okay.
2018. I got into the nursing program.
Okay.
And since then, it was just like influencing people as to why it's important to be a nurse. What are the passions that you get from being a nurse?
Yeah.
The satisfying feelings of being a nurse.
Yeah.
And to me, it was always about serving the people.
Yeah.
I've always felt like when I can give people something, I can please in any way, I get satisfied with the outcomes of, their experience. Mm-hmm. And that to me is influencing, you know?
Yep.
Not this whole model acting, brand promoting, deals selling type of thing, which is what influencing is nowadays.
Right. And that's so interesting that you say that, because I feel like that is definitely not why most people get into it, is because I'm passionate about this specific thing. I want to show, like, the same way you were inspired or influenced, quote unquote, by the nurse who you saw taking care of your mom.
Right.
It's the same way you wanted to inspire people to, in the same way, be passionate about this profession, know what it's about, and things like that, which is really cool to hear. So how you said it started back in nursing school, 2017. How did that like come about? How did you? Because you can say, "Oh, I want to be like influential and show people," but how does that like start for you?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say influential at one point. At first, it was motivational.
Okay.
Because in the neighborhood that I'm from, not many of us graduate high school. Not many of us have a passion for seeking some profession in the future. In my entire neighborhood, I'm probably like the only outsider who stands out for something different because I grew out of the environmental norm.
Yeah.
And seek the profession that not many people in my community do. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but at the same time, I try my best to make it so that if I can do it, anyone else can. Yeah. So it just started with that, like people used to think that I was going to be a thug in the streets because I was raised in the streets, and a lot of me has changed based on appearance, how I dressed, how I spoke, my dialect, how I presented myself. Even though I was always a loving, kind person. Yeah. Outside, people looked at me like, "Oh, this guy is probably gonna rob me," And I don't blame people for that, honestly. But at the same time, it's like I wanted to show my own people that there's more than just having to be this presentable ideal of what it was to live in the Bronx. Yeah,
and I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning, but you were born and raised in the Bronx, and you still live there currently.
Yes, correct.
And was that, when you said you like changed like your appearance, your dialect, was that like a conscious decision, or was that kind of something that just
actually
happened?
No. So before I was a nurse, I used to be a medical scribe for an urgent care company, and I used to work downtown in Columbus Circle. And there was one time there was a holiday party. We all went. I was invited, and when I went there, I was the only one who stood out. Not because of who I was as a person, but because of how I looked. I had long braids with beads. I used to wear a fitted cap every single day. I used to dress differently, and everyone else just dressed casually, Manhattan, like, like those casual Manhattan wear. Yeah. And I started realizing like, wow, I'm in a different circle. I'm not in my own product. I'm not in my own environment anymore. And I feel like with these people, I can actually learn more and be more of who is more authentic to myself. So I started adapting to these new norms and these behaviors and everything. And from there, I started realizing like, okay, cool. I need to like, change my appearance. Like I used to have so many earrings. I had tongue piercings before. Like it was a bit of a discovery for me. I didn't know who I was as a person.
Yeah.
And, being exposed to these new environments and these new behaviors and these new norms, I started realizing, okay, like, cool. Growing up, I always wanted to be like my dad, look like my dad. And my dad is a great guy. But it's like the way he dresses is not an appearing thing, especially within my profession. So I started to like discover who I was.
Yeah.
And with that, I got to do so.
Yeah. And do you feel like there's any way to like make those two worlds like mesh, or do you feel like that's something you would have, like if you still wanted to have all the like earrings and or do you feel like that's something that is harder to like blend in with or to get started if you wanted to do something like nursing or healthcare?
I mean, not necessarily. I work with other nurses who have face piercings and, I mean, I have tattoos now, I started getting sticker sleeves, but there's nothing about it now that makes it different. It's just that persona that I was following was more of an image of what my dad looks like currently. And that's not to judge him. It's just, who am I? I grew up wanting to be like my dad. Like my dad was my inspiration as to who I wanted to look up to. And well, not because I'm just taller than my dad, but now I look different. I look at him in a different angle. And it's more like, okay, who am I? Who is Chris? And I all started discovering that like around 2018, 2019. That's when I started cutting my hair, changing my outfits, speaking differently with a different dialect, different tone. And,
And so that's interesting. So it's more about like just discovering like who Chris is.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't about necessarily like, oh, I'm going to change these things just to change them and like blend in more. It's like, no, this is what I've grown up seeing with my dad. Love my dad, but like, who am I? Like, who is the person I want to be?
Exactly.
And I think that's actually really interesting because I think it's hard as we grow up like in our family systems, it's hard to step away from what we've grown up in, even me personally too, like, and be like, wait, so I've grown up this way for a long time, but like, who am I? And it takes a little minute to like step away and discover like what that is. So.
Right. And that's really all that happened when it came with me. Like when I started motivating on Instagram, it all started with that. Like, who is Chris?
Yeah.
So even though I was posting on Instagram and, sharing about my passion for nursing, that was also helping me motivate myself because it was reassuring me as to who I am.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Oh, well, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah. So when you started like specifically posting on social media, building your audience on there, what were some of the things that you were like posting? Like what kind of content were you putting out there?
Nothing professional, I would say. It was just me in a bathroom using a mirror, taking a selfie.
Yeah.
Or putting my phone down, using my Apple Watch to like see my angle and just like with that, find my frame, post a picture, make a pose.
Yeah.
Always molding for some reason. I don't know. I do well with molding.
Yeah.
But I'll use that. I see myself in uniform and just post, and I'll make a quote that has nothing to do with the image itself, but just the meaning of the image,
Yeah.
Me being a nursing student, hey, I made it past semester 1. I made it past semester 2. I repeated semester 2, and I'm not going to let that, set me back from pursuing my dream. Semester 3, I passed on to that. I failed semester 3. I repeated again.
Yeah.
So it's all about persevering and making sure that I'm also motivating myself above trying to motivate other people.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so cool. So it kind of started in that way and like basically just sharing your experience. So because I feel like too, that's kind of a hard thing to like, if you like fail something, it's like, that's not something you necessarily want to put out to the world. It's it's something that's like devastating to you. And it's like, it's hard and you got to overcome that, but you just put it all out there.
Yeah, I put everything out there. Even the fact that I went to a second nursing school, I started all over from the beginning, just to prove to the world that it's not about, what you do to get there. It's just the fact that you get there.
Yeah.
Like I had a very long journey in nursing school, and to this day, I see people who sometimes mock me, but yet we have the same license. We practice the same thing. We work in the same department.
Yeah.
I work twice as hard to get to where you are, but yet here I am. Like, again, this is all ways of me motivating myself and keeping myself up to check and making sure that I can do that to influence other people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so when you started building, like, you were super authentic, which I'm sure drew people to you because you're showing your experience. Mm-hmm. As you started to build up like more of an audience and followers, did that come with a certain amount of like pressure?
Well, yes. At one point, I mean, not in the beginning, no, not really, because it was just me posting selfies of myself.
Right.
You know, it all started during the pandemic. That's when I became a modern day influencer.
Yeah.
And it was unintentionally. I was just posting I got down, made a pose with some like shoe brand that was for nurses, and that right there blew up. And then I connected with other brands, and then they all started noticing me. And I'm like, oh, he's tall, he's this, he's that, he's model like. He should. So it all spirals from there.
Got it.
But it was never a plan. It was. I mean, I've always wanted to be recognized for inspiring people to be nurses.
Yeah.
Like my hashtag was always inspiring the nursing world.
Yeah.
You know, trying to create a world for nurses and. You know, I was never really thinking about it long term. It was just more about, hey, this is my journey. Yeah. If I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah, for sure. So the typical like influencer like platform and style originally was not your plan, but it kind of grew into that as you started to get more of an audience.
I kind of slipped into it without me wanting to.
Got it. Okay. So like on the day-to-day when you were in the middle of it, you were still working full time. You worked full time as a nurse the whole time, correct?
I never.
Because you see that some now where people get big and then they'll step away from nursing, things like that. But you stayed in it. So what did a like typical like week look like? Would you be posting and doing stuff like on the days you worked, or was it only on like your off days? Or
well, I mean, so to consider again, I've only been a nurse since 2023. Right. So before that, I was still a nursing student.
Right.
I was still, I went to 2 nursing schools. So I was mostly promoting myself. At first, it was in uniform, school uniform, promoting how I would study, the methods that I would study, and the videos that I would study with, and all these things, the stethoscopes that I would get to better listen to heart sounds and all that stuff, you know? And then during the pandemic, it kind of shifted more to like, me modeling Janu scrubs, big scrubs, and all these other brands. And, seeing myself in the newsletters and all these things. And that kind of like led into like a whole different thing where I had to be more persistent in posting pictures and, making videos and transition videos, which I did a fair job for what it was worth. But it felt like I had to do it because I needed to do it, not because I wanted to.
Got it. It kind of, the opportunity presented itself. It was brought to you and it was kind of like, okay, I like, I feel a little bit of pressure, but it's like, this is kind of what people with platforms do. So maybe I should do it.
Oh no, I would get like a pamphlet, like this is what you are instructed to do.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
May I need to remind you that I'm still a nursing student. Right. I started off influencing nurses as a nursing student first.
Right.
And I'm like, how do you expect a nursing student to study, go to school, do clinicals, do these care plans, and study for these tests, and at the same time try to like do a photography shoot?
Right, for sure.
It's not authentic.
Right, definitely. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that too, like the brand, like influencer relationship. Did brands? You said they just started approaching you like initially?
Yeah, like I started being recognized by certain platforms. For example, like one of the biggest platforms that I got like looked up on was by LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn used one of my nursing school scrub posts in my lab, just posing a stethoscope, and they made a whole thing about nursing students. And I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was amazing. Like that was my first ever time, being recognized on a big platform.
Right.
And it felt nice. I had a great audience. I had a great, inspirational note on that, but. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure because then with that came more brands and more brands and more people. And, even though it was rewarding for other people who worked with me, it was still a lot of pressure for me because I wasn't a nurse at that point. Yeah,
Definitely. And were those brand deals at all lucrative for you? Or was it more like they would just send you like, scrubs or shoes or whatever?
Right. Well, with Janu, for example, they were the first scrub brand that I tried on. I used to have a discount code where people would just like use it for discounts and stuff like that. There were other brands that would work with me, temporarily, especially during COVID, there were many brands who were just gifting to frontliners.
Yeah.
And so I would promote their brands, and some brands I've kept, because it fits me well, and and it's not all nursing brands in general. Right. It's like apparel, like regular T-shirts, pants, But at one point there was like this company, I forgot their name, but they sent me like 4 boxes of like loafers and slippers and everything to give to everyone in my facility. And I did that, I gifted them that, none that I kept for myself. I didn't really like the design, but like that's a part of influencing that came with me realizing like, okay, this is going to be more than what I thought.
Sure.
Because for me to bring those boxes to the facility, I'm like, I don't even have a car in New York.
Right.
Imagine
jumping
me in
the subway.
And I had like those 2 boxes. I was like, this is embarrassing.
Like, what's this guy doing with all the shoes? Yeah.
Exactly. But that's how it started a bit, and from there it just started like settling into like people recognizing me as, nursing with Chris. That was like the thing,
Yeah, that's the brand influencer relationship. I'm coming at it from the brand side of things. And so when we first started our company, like we kind of knew, like as you're looking in and like researching and like marketing and all this stuff and what you're supposed to do, everybody's saying like influencer marketing, like that's what you got to do. All the brands are doing it. That's what you got to do. And the more we like looked into it and like reached out to people, like I felt so weird about it. It just felt very inauthentic. Yeah. And so like we started out just being like, hey, try these shoes out. If you like them, like wear them to the hospital, like wear them around. Like if you actually like them, then we can maybe talk about like working together and doing something. Yeah. And the problem I would have was like, we would send shoes. People would say, sure, let me check them out. We'd send shoes, they'd get them. And then I wouldn't hear anything. And so then I'd like follow up and I'd just be like, hey, just wanted to check and see if the shoes came in. And a lot of them would be like, oh yeah, they came in. I just haven't had a chance to try them yet. And I'm like, how hard is it to put a pair of shoes on? And so it was like, and then we would keep reaching out, and it would end up like we'd send a pair of shoes and then wouldn't hear anything, and kind of like, and it was just, we would get so like discouraged by that. And then the other side of it is where people who want to be influencers are then reaching out to you just wanting free stuff. Like they'd be like, hey, send me a pair and I'll review them. And it's like, you go to their page and they have like 400 followers and you're just like, everybody just wants free stuff. So it's like, it was just like one of those things where we're like, this is so annoying. We're like not going to deal with it. But also we don't know it from like the influencer side of things. Yeah. So it's like when a brand reaches out, what was your experience? If they wanted to send you something, like was it generally like send this and we'll like make a video, or was it like what we said, like try this out. If you like them, then we'll work something out?
Well, for me, initially, it started with like me purchasing the item itself, supporting the brand, right?
Yes.
I would purchase the item, I would wear it, and if I like it, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take some shots, I'm gonna, pose, make whatever makes me feel comfortable posting, and I'll just promote it that way. Like, oh, I got these shoes from this, I got these scrubs from this, I got this stethoscope from this,
right?
And from there, they'll be like, oh, thank you for the promotion, we would like to work with you. Yeah, that's how it all started for me. Like, because I didn't have a big following at that, at one point. Yeah. And it all started with me just like wearing these products and promoting it, and they would share it. This was before the whole collaboration stuff on Instagram came out. So it was more like share and then repost,
Yes.
But then after I got so like used to doing it, brands would then start reaching out to me, like certain other scrub brands and certain other shoe scrub brands. Yeah. And from there it started mingling into like, okay, cool, these brands are reaching out to me, and, but now it's too much. I can't juggle all of them at once.
Right. That I want to stop. If there's any influencers who are like building their audience and you want to work with brands, listen to Chris. He bought the product.
Buy the product first.
He tried it out. Yes. And if he liked it, he'd be like, hey, he'd post a little something. The brand would see it, and then they would want to work with you.
They'll come naturally to you.
And they come to you. Yeah. And then from that, other brands see it, and then they start approaching you. Whereas like now, what you see a lot of with us,
give me.
Let me see a free pair of shoes. They might make one little video, and then you never hear from them again. And it's like, you're not building a relationship. That's not helping build your brand. Nope. It looks really bad to the brand you just did that to.
Right.
And so if you just invest a little bit into the product, invest in it, it'll pay off, and it's way more organic that way. Yeah. You like the product that you're promoting. And so that's a great piece of advice, because I'm sure there will be people listening to this who want to start building their brand or are. And like eventually you might get to the point where brands are coming to you and doing that. But at first, that's definitely the way to go.
Hey guys, it's Lofton. Ever wonder why two nurses would start making shoes? Let me tell you why. My co-founder Alex and I realized our running shoes were destroying our feet at work because they were designed for runners, not us. So we designed the first high-performance work shoe built for all-day standing. With max comfort, fluid and slip resistance, and extreme durability, our shoes will leave your feet, knees, and back feeling great at the end of the day. Check us out at www.uni.shoes.
But I mean, at the same time, you also have to have a niche, you know, like your profile has to look a certain way. Like you have to present something. Like my whole thing at first was all nursing. At first it was motivational things about nursing. Then it was just nursing influencing, like brands. Everything was just brands and everything, nothing else but brands. Some pictures of me like in my regular lifestyle, but it was majority promoting nursing brands. If you're just a person with a regular profile with no engagement and you just ask to be promoted by a brand, it's not going to work that way.
Sure. Totally. So we've kind of gotten into, one other thing I want to talk about. So as an influencer, your relationship with other influencers, was it good? Like what is that like?
Superficial, very superficial. At first, I mean, I'm a lover boy. I love giving love to everybody, friends, family, relationships. I'm all about giving love. So I'm all like, when I meet people, they're already starting at level 100, right? Like I'm all there for them. And then you start noticing how it's not equal, you know. You start realizing that it's very superficial. At first I thought that bigger influencers than me were great friends, and then it starts settling in after they get to know you, and after times go by, and it's just like, okay, cool, this is not the friendship I thought it was. And it's not to say that it's like whatever, but some people get hurt by it. I'm a person that I easily get hurt because I'm a person that when I make friends, I tend to keep them forever.
Sure.
Losing one friend means a lot.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like some people might connect because you're both influencers, whereas you would be like, oh, I'm cool to actually interact with the person, not just the Instagram handle.
Exactly. Like, not just because they're that person, but because they're a person.
Yes. Yeah. And you can connect on, if you're both, you're both doing the same thing, you can connect on that level and confide in each other, because I'm sure, there's struggles with that and things. But if people don't want to be like actually have a relationship and it's just superficial, like you said, then that doesn't really work.
Yeah, no, it never worked out. I've had many friends that to this day I'm like, wow, what happened? What went wrong? And then I would ask, and I'm like, if there's anything that has been done on my end, like hold me accountable. No explanation. No nothing. It just subsides.
It just that's sad. Because you'll see, I mean, scrolling through social, you'll see a lot of these influencers will do like, collaborations with each other, or they're like get houses or something and do like skits and all that. And so part of you wonders, is this like authentic? Like, are you all actually buddies, or are you just,
It's all, for me, like I looked at it now, it's like, oh, this is just work.
Interesting.
Even though on my lens, it was more like, oh, these are friends who are willing to work with me and, do things involving me. And no, it's just give and take.
All right, so now we're going to transition. So you've been influencing, building up your platform, working with brands. When did you start realizing something was off?
So I realized it when I started dancing, because that's what happened first. I started dancing in November of 2022.
Okay.
And I was still an influencer by then, but it was more like, wow, I'm connecting a lot more authentically with dancers than with actual influencers. Not just because I get to see the dancers more and I get to actually engage with them, but we get to share a commonality that's not just nursing or influencing. So I started realizing the disconnect with other people who were also influencers, and then I started showing true faces as to who these people are. And for me, it was more like, okay, cool, this is not right. At the same time, I feel pressured by having to do these things. I feel pressured by having to make these collaborations. I feel pressured by having to meet up with these expectations and these rules based on these brands that I would, work with. And even though it wasn't impossible, it was just more like, this is not what I want to do long term. Like, so cool. I get to benefit off of it in many ways, financially, materialistically, but it's not something that was authentic to me. I'm more about connecting with people in general. And not just the brand, or working with the brand and meeting people through the brand. Like, it's more than that.
So it started out as kind of like a passion project for you, where you're passionate, motivational. It turned into like, oh, I have to do this.
Like it's not like, I'm a person that is like, if I have to wash dishes and I see the dish, I will wash it. But if you tell me to wash it, I'm not going to want to do it anymore. I'm like,
for sure. Yeah.
I was already on that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like the same mentality. When it's like, when it came to motivating, it didn't feel like I was being motivational anymore.
Yeah.
I felt like I was just doing a transactional thing for people to benefit off of more than just myself.
Right.
You know, and again, it all started with me wanting to motivate myself and inspire myself through doing that for other people.
Yeah, totally.
Having to go out and like, you know, for me, it was more like I had to like go to a hotel, you know, and take like 300 plus pictures of different scrub colors and different poses, all these things, different hairstyles, just to like make it look like, here's my day-to-day life.
Yes, yeah.
That was not my day-to-day life. Yeah. That was that one day that I took off of studying, off of working, just so I can focus on giving the brand what they want. That way they leave me alone for the rest of the week.
Right. So you're building up it's like building up this persona of like, this is my lifestyle. This is what I do. And that was not the case.
No, it was not.
And I would probably feel a little like weird inside. Like I'm putting off this certain like lifestyle and this is what it looks like to be an influencer and a nurse when it wasn't actually the case. Yeah.
Exactly. And people would see me in public and they'll be like, oh my God, you're that guy from Instagram. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, hi. And they're like, they expect me to be all this bougie. Yeah. I'm very humble. I say hi to everybody. I'm very like picture, smiles, whatever. Oh, drink, sure, let's do that. Like, I'm very sociable, you know. And that's not a part of influencing that many people get to see. Because most of them are like, oh, I'm this person. I'm known. They got their high horses on. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So once you started to feel like something was off, this didn't feel authentic to you, you were enjoying dancing, that was much more like making connections in person, and you're loving that. When did that, like, you start transitioning from like, I don't think I'm going to do this. I'm not going to work with brands. I'm not going to like be obligated to post all the time.
Oh yeah, I just stopped following the rules. I'm like, I'm gonna post whenever I want to post. Like if it's authentic to me, I'll post it. If it's not, too bad, you know?
Yeah.
And I got a lot of callbacks like, hey Chris, like you're missing the deadline, you're missing this, and I'm like, that's fine.
From brands.
From brands, yeah. They'll be like, oh, you haven't posted a story in X amount of days. And I'm like, yeah, I don't wear these brands every single day. Like I don't work every single day. You know, like I also have other things in life that I do aside from just wearing scrubs.
Right.
Like majority of the time, 7 days a week, I would just wear scrubs just because it was like, oh, if this is picture worthy, I'll just take it. Boom, you know?
Yeah.
So it was getting to me, and I just wouldn't take more of it.
Yeah. So you were like, I'm done. Like if I'm working that day, like I'll post a picture of the scrubs or whatever. But if like I'm not going to throw it on and start taking pictures for a whole day if I'm not like doing it.
And if I have the time and if I feel good wearing what I'm wearing, and I'm like, you know what, okay, I'll take a picture. I'll take the picture.
Yeah.
But if I don't feel like I don't have to, then I won't. Yeah. You know, and that's when I started freeing myself more from this, like, you know, this influencing mentality.
Yeah. Did your followers start to notice a change? Like, did you start to hear from them? Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were telling me like, "Hey, Chris, like, did you stop being a nurse?" And I was like, "No."
Because you're not posting 7 days a week.
Because I'm not posting 7 days a week. I'm like, I mean, I'm forever gonna be a nurse. Like, that's my passion. That's my everything. Like, I will always put nursing first. I'm just not gonna put it like publicly. Like, you know, I don't have to like show it off.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the priority anymore. Like, I do other things. You know.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed to get to have a new hobby in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was an influencer, I had no other hobby.
Yeah.
It was just work, home, sleep when I could.
Yeah.
And then post and always be on my phone.
Yeah.
But because I had no other hobby.
Yeah.
You know, after nursing school, I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But then when I discovered dancing, I was like, oh, wait, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
So it became more authentic to me. And I just didn't care much about posting about nursing anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't care about inspiring or motivating people anymore because I lost that passion with all the pressure that was assigned for me by brands to do these things that wasn't even authentic to me anymore.
Definitely. And so it started to be like a shift of focus from like, and now that you have dancing, you're like, oh, I can do in my free time, instead of posting pictures and doing brand deals, I can actually do something that's like giving me life. And
oh my God, so much more. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, anybody working in healthcare knows like you get exhausted working those, 12-hour shifts or whatever. And so you need time, you need you time. Like you need to do something on your days off that actually is going to like inspire you and give you something to like look forward to.
Yeah.
Because it's what we do is hard. And so if we don't have an outlet to like do something for us, then it can be pretty tiring.
But think about it from an outside perspective. When you're not an influencer, these people who are not influencers looking at influencers think that's the lifestyle I want.
Right.
But they're not seeing the the backstage of what it is to be an influencer, the pressure, and hanging out with all these influencers. All they do is want to be on their phone and post and post and post. So you're not actually getting the real them.
Yeah.
They're more focused on making sure that they engage with their followers. And I'm like, I cannot engage with that much people. I want to be social, but not like that. This is very superficial.
Right. And you're engaging with your followers, but you're not actually engaging with anyone.
No. No. You're just doing it because it helps keep your engagement up.
Right.
And my engagement started trending down so fast because I just dropped my phone at one point and I was just at a social dancing and I forgot about everything. And,
Yeah, totally. So when did you, now your profile set to private, when did you, or is it still set to private, or is it open to public?
So when I stopped influencing and I started dancing, it was public, then I put it private because I wanted to just shut down from the world for a bit. Started traveling, I started going to Europe to dance, I started doing all these things. And then I was like, you know what? People are looking at me as a dancer now, not as a nurse. Or they call me the salsa dancing nurse, which is pretty cool, I guess. But it's not like my focus is now nursing. If it comes, it comes, but it's more dancing. And it's more authentic because it's not like I have to tell somebody, here, record me. It's like they see me dancing, they see that I stand out, they record me, they post it, they collaborated with me. So they're posting videos of me that I can also put on my profile. So the work is doing itself,
Definitely. Yeah. That makes sense. And it's like now it's, instead of you feeling obligated to post something, it's just like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to post myself dancing, or somebody else did, collaborate with them. And it's not like your typical, like, I need to engage with my audience and do all this. It's like, this is who I am. And so this is how like I am going forward. Yeah.
I mean, and when it started like that, it was, at first it was a bit of a challenge because I wasn't a good dancer at first. I never really learned how to like be good. I'm not naturally good. I went to a school that taught me how to be a good dancer. And so I started doing that more publicly where people would just start noticing me. And from there, it was just like, unraveling itself. So now that once you decided, you stepped away, you're like, I'm doing this for me. I'm following my dancing, my passion for that. How has your life, like, how would you put into words how your life has changed? That's a big one. Less pressure. I get to do what I want when I want. I get to work and not have to worry about, oh, how many gigabytes do I have left on my phone to make a video? Like, how much space do I need to free up? And, oh, look, this lighting angle or this and that. It's more just, I am myself. I am, I'm not feeling like I have to act a certain way. I get to be more free. I get to do more. I get to be more adventurous, more social. I get to be more of myself because one thing about being an influencer, that some people that I've noticed, they're very stuck up. They like to like preserve their persona in public. And I'm like, nope, this is me. This is what it is being Chris, Meanwhile, some people's more like, oh, I have to act a certain way because this is how publicly I'm seen on social media. I'm like, that's cool for you, man. But I don't have that much energy. Like, if I can't be myself, then I don't know what I'm really doing. Like, is the purpose actually genuine? Then,
So. It's like what you see is what you get. Like if you follow me, like, and you meet me in person, like you're gonna see the same person.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing, same energy. I'm a very goofball, bubbly person. The smaller face may confuse people, but at the same time, it's more like this is who I am. And if that's not okay with you, then that's perfectly fine.
Definitely.
Rather than having to act like, oh, I'm this influencer, like oh, I'm this whatever. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And I started realizing it when people were asking me like, oh, I was trying to talk to you in person. I saw you, but you look very intimidating and I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not me. That didn't feel like me. And it really hurt because I'm a person that I want people to see me and be like, oh, hi, I recognize you from X, Y, and Z. Rather than, oh, my God, that's this person. Let me not, I don't know what to do. Do I go say hi? Do I not? And it bothered me a lot because I'm not that person. I'm a very approachable person.
I can already tell you're a very relational person. Like you like engaging with people and talking to people. So I can see how if somebody was like, saw you and was like, oh, I'd like to say something, but I don't, and you'd be like, oh man. Like, and you should have said hi.
And the weirdest thing is that they would record me from afar and zoom in and be like, look, Chris, I see you. And I'm like, you could have said hi.
It's a little less creepy that way.
Less creepy, I mean, damn, you got me on the wrong angle too. I'm probably like picking my nose or something. Who knows?
Right. You could just come say hi, shake my hand.
Exactly. Totally. I'm all for it.
If you could go back, what would you change?
Not doing it.
You just wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it. I would have stuck with being a motivational person. Making sure that I could inspire people around my community to be persistent, ambitious to seek a goal.
Yeah.
And I have to, do it for a fame or whatever the purpose may be.
Yeah.
I do have some influencing friends who are really big on social media, and I can count with one hand how many of them are actually authentic versus those who are just very like, this is how I am, this is how I will be.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So you wouldn't start to begin with, or does that mean like if you were doing your motivational stuff and brand deals, like brands came to you, you would say like, no, like keep doing what you were doing. But do you feel like that's kind of when things changed, was when you started working with brands and started feeling the obligation and things like that? Yeah.
I mean, they started setting these expectations, and my error was not making my own expectations, not giving them an expectation of reality.
Totally.
Just like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll work with you. No problem.
Definitely.
Versus like, okay, I'll work with you, but this is my conditions. This is my terms,
Yeah, totally.
That would have made a big difference for me.
Definitely. And so does any part of you miss it at all?
I mean, I miss the fact that people will be like, oh, you're that guy from this brand or from this brand. Oh, I've seen your pose. This is your pose.
Yeah.
And, that part, yes.
Yeah.
But in reality, I'm happy to let go of that.
Right.
Like, it's not really weighing down on me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to just be myself now and just, be known for what I do now. And it's like, oh, the salsa dancing nurse. Like, I'd rather that than the nursing influencer,
Totally.
Because it's more authentic. It's more me, I'm just a nurse who works night shifts and who dances nights. And, so yeah, that was more of my thing.
Definitely. And so now that you have more free time to do what you want, we were talking about this before, but like you said, you just went to, name all the places you've been to so far this year.
Okay, this year I've been to Prague, Czech Republic. I've been to, I've been to Budapest, Hungary. I've been to Bucharest, Romania, Rome, Italy. And in between, I've been to Amsterdam, Dublin, and Warsaw, Poland.
Wow.
Yeah.
So more places than most people have traveled in their lifetime you've been to in just this year.
Yeah,
That's
dancing.
wild. And it's just dancing.
Just dancing.
You'll go, you'll find, we kind of talk to you, like might have a connection or somebody, and they'll just be like, hey, come over and like, is it like what would you call it? Competitions? Or is it more of like just communities like meeting up and dancing?
Yes, festivals.
Okay. Festivals.
There will be a lot of European salsa dancers who would come to New York because New York is apparently like the home of the mambo style dance, which is what I do.
Nice.
And it's very popular in Europe. They would come to to New York. They would attend these socials. They would meet me. They would dance with me, and they'll be like, oh my God, you should come to the dance house events at Back to Mambo, Live to Mambo, Mambo Italiano, and then you have Salsa Rave and all these things. And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell none of these things are.
Right.
Because at that point, I was only 1 year in of dancing. So I didn't really know exactly what the heck I was getting myself into. But once I actually got to go into my first place, which was Prague, beautiful place, lovely place. The people there, the dancers there blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this feels more like home.
Yeah.
This is something that I would happily promote without even having to promote. It just promotes itself.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been lynched. So I travel to Europe every 1 to 3 months. Wow. I attend these salsa festivals, and my next one is going to be at Riviera at Côte d'Azur, France.
Okay. Nice.
Next month. Yeah. So
next month.
Next month. Yeah. So this is.
So you're not done traveling this year.
Oh no. People say that I might need a bigger passport, but so far I'm good.
You're gonna fill out all your pages.
Yeah.
So now that you're traveling all the time, if you had stayed doing what you were doing, there's no way you'd be traveling like this, right? Like influencing. Like if you still had your platform and were like still posting and doing all that stuff, there's no, like, you wouldn't be doing this, right?
I mean, I would have, with the sacrifice of not having friends.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it would be like.
Gotcha.
Because again, influencing is very time consuming.
Yes.
Also, dancing is time consuming.
Yeah.
And traveling to dance is even more time consuming.
Yeah.
And yet work, you have to accommodate with your schedule, working the first 3 days of the week, traveling on the 4th day, coming back on the 8th day to then work the last 3 days.
Yeah.
And those are things where it's like, who do you have time for then,
Yeah, totally.
And some people can merge, like, okay, since I'm going to go to France, I'm going to do some France pose and scrubs. But think about it. Yeah. What type of nurse are you actually to be, in the U.S., working in the Bronx, wearing scrubs in Europe? What are you doing in Europe wearing scrubs? Like, there's going to be some misalignment.
Right, totally.
So all this influencing stuff can sometimes catch up with you, and I don't want it to get over my head. So I made sure I got over it.
Yeah, totally. Definitely. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So now I want to go, we learned about your story. Like, I want to kind of talk more about like the influencing side of things.
Okay.
Do you feel, because there's a lot of people who may be listening to this, who they want to be an influencer. Like that's what they want to do. Like they want to start building their platform, doing that. What advice would you give to people who are wanting to become influencers?
Don't lose yourself trying to serve people who are trying to live the lifestyle that you think you're living.
Yeah.
You know, that's one main thing.
Yeah.
People would think that because I'm an influencer that I probably have, you know, X amount of money, X amount of lifestyles. And I'm like, no, I'm still your regular neighborhood Bronx living New Yorker, you know, living the same life. But then they would see it in the image like, but you're doing this and you're in this, you're like, your place seems so nice. And I'm like, that's not my place.
Yeah.
That's just my photo shoot place, you know?
Right.
And from there, I started like showing off as like, this is not what nursing influencing is. This is just all the persona. And that's when I started realizing the fact that I have to tell these people that made me self-reflect as to like, damn, this is not even me. This is just me putting up a work ideal for people who want to think that this is what it is. Like being a nurse in New York is not easy. It's not financially sustainable either. So you're not going to live that bougie lifestyle, you know?
Totally.
Like you're living by the dollar basically. And definitely. Even though nursing is a very hard and competitive profession, you know, and a very rewarding one as well, it's not all about, you know, the luxury look that people think it is.
Totally.
Unless you make influencing your full-time lifestyle. By that point, just leave nursing and like show people what it is to be an influencer, not a nursing influencer.
Definitely. Do you feel like there is a way to like sustainably like stay true to yourself and be an influencer without like getting burnt out and doing it in a not like inauthentic way? Like, is there an authentic way to do it? Or do you feel like those two things cannot like coexist?
I believe if you're a nursing educator on, you know, like those are influencers that really are beneficial for the nursing community, for themselves, because you're teaching yourself, right? So I do give a round of applause for those nursing influencers who are all about educating other nursing students, other future nurses, and other nurses to be better nurses. Like those, hands down, are the best. But when it's those who are like making all these like pictures and poses and this and that and speaking about what is their lifestyle, like that's really reflecting about how they live as an influencer versus how they are as a nurse.
Totally. Yeah. So it might be like the motivation behind it then. It's like, what is your motivation getting into this? Are you going into this to get famous and make a lot of money and like go for these things that you think a lot of these influencers are living, which we found out that that's not always the case.
Not always
like
the case, no.
You're just there, you know, at this nice apartment shooting a photo shoot. It's not your apartment. Like, so are you chasing that? If that's what you're chasing, probably not going to feel very fulfilling and aligned. But if you're going in, like you said, like you wanted to be motivating, you wanted to show other people in your position, like what it was like to be a nurse and how that changed like your life. That might be a more sustainable way to do that.
And that's the way that it should be. I mean, not many people do it. Not many people go into it realizing that that's the case. People tend to want to give themselves this celebrity-like persona, whereas like, I don't know, like, how would I put it? Let's say if I was to be behind an influencer, right? Now, I'm not aware of the influencer, and I would take a picture of myself, and they come up in the background with a face. They'll be like, "Oh no, you can't put that up because my." And I'm like, "But that's just the, you know, like this is how I've seen other influencers be." And I'm like, "Wow, that's really, you know, if I come off in a wrong angle and my legs look a bit long, and that if you like your picture, post it. Like that's how I am. I'm not all about like, oh, I have to look a certain way. I have to be. I have to keep my persona. Like, no, just be yourself.
Be yourself. Yeah. Which is, you've learned that's the way to go. But it's hard at first to like to stay true to that. Once you start feeling the pressures of like, I've got to perform a certain way or look a certain way or give off like this lifestyle that people think I should be living.
Yeah. It can always happen when they see themselves doing things that other people are doing and just following that without realizing why they're doing what they're doing. And once I started realizing why they are doing what they're doing, I was like, that's not what I'm doing. That's not why I'm doing it. So why should I like uphold that same expectation becoming an influencer? You know, I used to post pictures of my bad angles, like, hey, working another double, working another this. You know, wearing my comfy shoes after 16 hours and yet I look a mess. And that's authentic to me versus like, oh, I'm here looking all pretty, makeup, you know, waking up, doing your
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. And that's one of the things too, like going back to like NurseCon, we noticed like there were a lot of influencers on the boat and like I rarely saw any of them. Like they never came in like the main air, like none of them stopped by the booth. Like nobody, they wouldn't engage with other people. When you would see them posting on like their social, they're all together. Like the influencers are together making their content. You never saw them like engaging with the other nurses on the ship that weren't like influencers.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my first time at NurseCon being without that circle. I felt more like I'm being myself because the first 2 times I was with one group of influencers. The second time I was a second group of influencers. And I never really got to enjoy much of what it was to be at NurseCon versus this third year that I'm here by myself. I mean, I'm there with friends, but it's like we're all together doing all the things, living wild with other nurses, not just like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. It was just more like everything was a set flow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking to become an influencer, I hope you're listening to this episode and take some advice from Chris because he's lived through it and he has some great insight. And before we go, I do want to get if you have one, your craziest, weirdest follower story. Like somebody DM'd you something like crazy or saw you like in real life and like was super awkward or weird or.
Well, I mean, I could say that I had what's it called? A person a follower, go to my job and acted to be sick to see who was nursing in nursing in action. And I was a bit surprised because I started realizing I started hearing my own voice on a phone, and that person was asleep, but their phone was like unlocked, and it was just my video on repeat. And I'm like,
oh shit!
And then I wake this patient up. I'm like, who are you and how do you know about that video? And like, oh my God, I'm a big fan. And I'm like, so you're not even here for the right reasons, you know? Like
not even sick.
Not even sick. They played it off and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Yeah.
You know, we have a thing at work where it's like the cuss, where it's like, I'm not comfortable, I feel unsafe, safe, you know. And I swapped.
Wow.
Swapped.
For sure.
I'm like, listen, I'll take 3 of your patients for 1.
Yeah, totally.
Because it was just like this patient was always talking to me. They delayed me from doing med pass. Like, they'll ask me so many questions. Like, how long have you been a nurse? Da 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 da. And I'm a social butterfly, so I will engage. They seemed so authentic, but then I realized that they were just a person who followed me for who knows how long, seeing my journey, and it's like, damn, this is really what you came for?
Totally. Man, and their insurance is not going to be happy about that either.
Yeah, so it was. After that, I was like, I don't want this. And don't get me wrong, there are some people who would be like, oh, I've seen you before on social media, and they'll just be regular patients, and I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for noticing. Hi, nice to meet you. Whatever. But it was never really that weird. Like they never really I never really caught them on their phones or like taking pictures. Taking pictures in hospitals is like a big issue too.
Yeah.
So I never really got that. But as far as that video, where it's like they're just like watching me talk about. It was a video me talking about a dating experience too, which is funny. It wasn't even nothing related to nursing. It was just me on, it was on TikTok. I went viral for posting a video about a dating experience, and they was watching it, and they fell asleep watching it because it was on loop, and I'm like, why do I hear my voice? And
That's
I started
so weird.
Pulling open curtains, and I'm like, oh no, this is not. No, this can't be. Can we get a swap?
Yeah, somebody switch with me.
Yeah. So I went to the other side of the ED, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this again.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, I knew you'd have a good one. That's why I had to ask. I knew you'd have a good one.
It felt uncomfortable because it's like now I really have to feel like I have to put on that person, even though the persona was still the same. It's just like now I have to really, really be on my P's and Q's.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I know we could probably keep going for hours, but this was amazing. Thank you for coming out to LA. It was great to do this in person because, like you said, like seeing someone in person is so much different than doing it over, Zoom or something like that. Right. If you can sit down with somebody, connect, it feels way better doing it this way. So I'm so glad you were willing to come out and do this.
Of course, man. I appreciate you flying me here. Of course, LA is a beautiful thing, and this is my first ever, time at a podcast hearing my own voice. So, I love this. I forgot how nervous I was in the beginning. So
for sure. You get into it and
you're in the zone.
Real smooth. So if people want to follow the nurse who salsa dances, where can they do that?
It's easy. My Instagram is Chris Hernandez RN. You'll see mostly dancing. Yeah. Maybe one picture of nursing here and there, but it's majority dancing.
Awesome.
And just poses of me living my life,
Amazing.
regular lifestyle, no brand deals, no nothing like that.
Yeah.
And if it comes to be authentic for me to post a picture of a brand that I want to promote, I will do it because it's my own means, not because I'm told to do so.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. What you see is what you get, right?
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. We, like I said, first episode of this podcast, we're going to keep going with other awesome people, amazing stories, motivating, intriguing. So yeah, we hope you'll subscribe, listen along, and before we go, I've got now we talk about brands. This is in no way a requirement for you to do anything with, but you came on the show where we make shoes for healthcare professionals. You're a healthcare professional, so we couldn't not give you a pair of shoes. So
awesome.
I'll pass those over to you. So
awesome,
those are for you.
Thank you so much.
No brand deals, no posting, just for you to wear.
No terms for me to sign or anything?
Well, once we go off air. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.